I'm a live performer from the early 90s, building things and creating things with interactivity, music, and a lot of things. I come from modular, I'm from AuRe4, so visual programming was like an open window to coding for me, coming from this world. So I decided to create like the perfect tool to do my shows, knowing that I do everything. I do live music, live projections, and generative design all in the same time.
Mm.
So I decided to create using the workflow of the music creation. So to be able to have like a modular solution, like modules on a rack to produce generative and audio reactive things. AuRe is 8 softwares that are interacting together, that are standalone, and that are free to use, that are built all with Gamma. Okay. So I started this project like 10 years ago with a beta, and it was not the time to do something really create. And I'm working on this new version from 2022. So it's like 3 years. I'm working on it like hardly and deeply, and this is the result. So in any case, what you can see here is that I defined like 4 stages in live performances using in projection, etc. So one, you have the interaction, which can analyze audio and MIDI or sensors to provide inputs to the generations that are 2 software, one for 2D and one for 3D generation. The storytelling and the diffusion, that is it's projection mapping tools and live video mixing tools with PTZ controlling. Each software can be run in one only computer, connecting together and interacting together, or each software can be run in a separate computer, increasing the power, the capacity of each software, because like this you don't reduce the thing. And overall, each software is in 2 modes, in a creator mode and a player mode, which means that to gain a lot of frame rate, I had to do versions that are not with any UI. So like this, you can have a really perfect frame rate. So what does mean? It means that we have one software for the audio, MIDI, and internal sequencing to send OSC to the generators. One that is interaction that I won't show tonight because it's not finished. The storytelling is more or less how we will control and send clip changes to the generators. And then all the generators are sharing textures via Spoot or NDI or personal texture sharing system. And then you have the diffusion place where there is all the system for creating environment using different screens and a live video mixer to incorporate in your mappings or in your shows, cameras, PTZ, and control them and recall presets, etc. We have, what you can see is that we have 1, 2, 3, 5 modules that are opened. These are the creator versions. So you have one that is analyzing audio. So you will send 8 bangs with ADSR that you manage to the generators that will react accordingly to what you decide. So each bang, you will decide if it's a stereo analyzing internal sequencer that you can see here, or MIDI inputs. So you can define that you received MIDI to control your generators, or multi-ASIO in. So I mean that you can have 8 tracks, 8 inputs audio, and have audio reactivity on separate. So to make like live events with like 8 buses, etc., etc. Each bang has an ADSR, generates an ADSR, as you can see here, that will be sent to the generators. Okay, so just to go quickly, because it's a huge project, we have 2 kinds of generators, so one 2D and one 3D. So the 2D one is really built like an audio mixing thing. I really define that normally what we use is like an 8-track mixer, and we want to have buses to send this input to this output, and we have clips that we will launch, and more or less this is more or less what I made. So definitely I use the step-by-step compositing, which means that is really linked to how you will compose lights in a show. So a step-by-step thing. So we have 8 tracks, 8 generators, more or less, that will be mixed together with the transparency settings that you all know. And those generators will be added in a global or in buses accordingly to the bus setup that you define here. So like this, you have 9 outputs, now texture outputs that are sent or via NDI or via Spoot or internally to the diffusion processors. That's quite cool. And overall, what's interesting is that when you select and you go to the editor, well, I tried to give like a really synthesizer thing. It's a synth. I have my steps here, so I can decide what will be the second step. You have 128 clips per tracks, which means that you can do mixings that are, well, never the same for the full year. That's quite interesting for decoration purposes, and it's quite easy, straightforward to mix things and to try the editor with all the different sources. The workflow is quite easy. And what's interesting to understand is that all this is MIDified. I mean, you can plug in a controller and control everything live with a controller. This is a 3D generator, up to 8 cameras. This is all the rendering and the projection position, the projection pose. So this is an example of what has been done at Superbus 25 in the tent. I don't know if someone has been there. So in any case, this is more or less the 3D version of the synthesizer, where you can define all your environments with all the PBR texturing thing. So you define your cameras, you can define your scene, you have some importers, so you can import models, HDR for the background. You have a full PBR process importing. So like this, you can import in your projects everything. You have a PBR creator, which is quite interesting because there are 2 ways to save your product. So it's like using the 2D generator to produce a PBR texture. Okay, so it's more or less like this. So you will define which kind of source you have, and you will generate a PBR texture that you can preview here. This is the text that will be seen in real time with a frequency thing. So like this, you can, and if you give some time, you can record this in a generative way. So like this, you create your own texture, you record it in a generative way, and the texture is moving in your project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And this is what makes this kind of effect on the tubes that you can see there. And and then you have your objects that are there, that there are different kind of objects. So monocubes, the classic one, the 3D text emitter, and the FX objects. You have a reactive motion FX chain that is always linked to the reactive sources that you are seeing there. In any case, all the movements that are there, they are defined by the trigger there. Those triggers can be audio reactive or MIDI reactive, and in any case, and all the MIDI. So you can, and for each you have like 100, for each object that you have in your scene, you have like 128 clips in step-by-step modification. So you can add steps here. Well, you can compose a full interactive scene and recall everything later with the program changes. That's it.
Wow, man.
Yeah. And then you have the diffusion processor that is there. That is like a projection mapping solution. tailor-made for all the generators and everything. So like this, you already have like the TC inputs. These are the buses and the general from the TC. This is a 3D cameras that I received. So like this, I can choose which one will be in my, so it's like a classic mapper solution, but you can define everything and record everything on your file. So like this, when you open your system, all the mapping is already in place. You don't have nothing to move. And the last thing I have to show, because I'm out of time, is a video mixer, which is a classic video mixer to control your PTZ, and that will send your control, FX, and program to the diffusion processor. So like this, you can integrate everything in your mapping. That's it. And I think I made the round of this fucking huge project that took me like well, a while to achieve.
I can
Well,
imagine, man. You've
the
been
last to
covering
say,
everything.
yeah, last to say that it's free. It's on the website on aurea.com. I want people to download it, test it, and enjoy it. That's it. I think I finished.
Incredible, man. Thanks so much. Amazing. I mean, this is a full-on, full-featured software, no? Like you have everything any VJ or performer out there that would ever need.